Welcome to the 2023 SUS CP Conference, the Edge of Opportunity podcast from St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. The Southeastern United States Canadian Provinces, or SUS CP Alliance, was established in 2007 to formally advance a common interest in enhancing economic ties between the two regions. The Alliance is a strategic trade and investment-focused partnership between 6 southeastern U.S. states and 6 Canadian provinces. This year's conference is focused on opportunities in the blue and green economies.
And we are back at SUS CP 2023 with Gale Force Winds. I can tell you, we're having a great time. I'm Alan Dale. This is Jerry Crew. One of our favorite guests is now on the podcast with us. And indeed, I've said this before, steady hand on the tiller here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Premier, I'm not going to take words out of your mouth here, but share the optimism that's happening here in Newfoundland right now.
Oh, it's just an incredible time to be part of the next step for Newfoundland and Labrador. I think we all should realize the opportunity that exists right now. The world is changing, and Newfoundland and Labrador has all the key ingredients for a modern global economy. The challenge for us as leaders is to first understand that, to recognize it, and then to capture that energy to make bold decisions to truly create a modern Newfoundland and Labrador to meet those modern global demands. I mean, the energy, we can be a world leader in energy right now. We have an abundance of hydroelectric capacity, developed and undeveloped. We have an abundance of wind, a renewable resource that we've never even dreamed could be used for anything for generations. And now in front of us is the opportunity to harness that wind and to change it into hydrogen, which Europe is betting on as an alternative fuel source to start to replace petroleum products. And of course, we have our offshore oil and gas products, which are some of the lower carbon, has some of the lowest carbon footprint, one of the lowest carbon footprints of any oil and gas product in the world. So different than some other jurisdictions, Newfoundland and Labrador can truly be an energy leader, and a leader in that transition, exercising the value of non-renewables while we create incredible, sustainable, long-term sustainable opportunities in the renewable space. It is incredibly exciting in that energy sector right now. And of course, we have other opportunities, and we're not putting all our eggs in one basket. We recognize right now that we have incredible industries developing here in tech, as we saw, the Verafin deal with NASDAQ. We really think that there's a vibrant ecosystem right here, right now. I mean, when you think of Newfoundland, the island portion, it was always a challenge to get our product to market, whether that was fish or energy or other commodities. Technology doesn't necessarily need an actual highway. It needs an information highway, but it doesn't need an actual highway. So we can export that creativity, that innovation, like never before. We have an incredible opportunity in our mineral resource. I mean, we're continuously ranked as one of the best places to do mining in the world, and that's thanks to Minister Parsons and the people at IET who do some incredible work. But right now, the world needs critical minerals, and guess what? They're not buying it from China. They're not buying it from Russia. They're not buying it from maybe Russian-affiliated countries anymore. So just to meet the normal demands, let alone the demands of a green transition and new clean batteries, just to keep up with normal construction, normal infrastructure, the world wants stable, secure sources of these commodities like iron ore and nickel. And we're very lucky to have them. But in addition to being a stable democratic jurisdiction, we have the ability to say that we can have some of the greenest production of those commodities. And if you look at a company like Rio Tinto, just for example, and they have a worldwide portfolio, and they're looking across the world and saying, okay, where are we going to develop? Where are we going to make these long-term billion-dollar investments? Well, we want to make sure that we have access to clean, green energy so that we can, on the market, promote it as an added value, and that it's green steel, for example. So if you're going to have green steel, it has to come from the ground all the way through to production. Well, our upstream impact is that we can provide potential for not only high-quality product, It's easier to refine as a result, but we also have access to clean electricity for them to be able to sell that around the world. So incredible opportunities right now in Newfoundland and Labrador. I know sometimes it's hard to see in the day-to-day grind, but if everyone can just pick their head up every now and then and just look at the new horizon, the modern horizon for Newfoundland and Labrador, they'll be excited.
Right. And Mr. Premier, not only is that inside the overpass, this is rural Newfoundland and Labrador that's going to benefit as well.
This is breathing new life into rural Newfoundland and Labrador. And these people look at the windmills, for example. So that's an industry by itself. If you look at the Port of Argentia, they're creating a business opportunity just for laydown area for the windmills, because these things are gigantic. And because of the supply chain issue and having to get in the queue to secure these things, people are buying them on spec. Well, they can't. There's no land to lay those things down. These huge items on the northeastern seaboard. It just doesn't exist. But the Port of Argentia has made an opportunity to rent space, lease space to energy companies around the world, so that they can lay down different parts of the windmill, and then when they're needed, put them somewhere else. So we're going to need. There's all kinds of indirect opportunities with respect to that particular industry alone.
But it's not hype either, Premier. It's money being spent right now. Port Stephenville, Argentia, Bjorn Peninsula with Everwind Fuels, Tech NL with that sale. Gander, right?
Yes, and I say all the time, you don't have to take my word for it. I'm not trying to sell people on a rubber boot factory or a greenhouse. I mean, if you don't believe me, the Chancellor of Germany was here in Stephenville. He didn't come because the Premier of Newfoundland said, would you please come and try to create an industry for us. He came because he knew that, and his officials knew, that we had what Europe needs right now. And if you don't believe him, the President of the United States has invested $750 billion in the IRA to incentivize people and companies to switch to hydrogen and alternative fuels. That has to be produced somewhere, and it can be produced right here in Newfoundland and Labrador. So the opportunities are immense. They're challenging in that we're actually going to need help getting workers here, which. If someone had said to me 5 years ago, you're going to have to go to Fort Mac and recruit people to come home to meet all these opportunities, I would have said you're correct.
What's the estimate, Premier, on the number of jobs in the next 10 years? Do you have that number in your head?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but if you look at it, you have to consider the jobs attached to the creation of the landscape for the windmills, the implementation and the maintenance of the windmills, then if you're talking about the hydrolysis plant, and then all the shipping terminals that will be attached to it. So the direct and indirects is not insignificant. And on top of all that, there's indirects in the education of people to provide for this industry. So not only will we be a world leader in supplying this, we'll be a world leader in making sure that we're educating people and making sure that they have the skills to work in this field, which, by the way, no one else is doing around the world right now necessarily, as this is an emerging industry.
And Minister, Chief,
you keep giving me demotion.
He's the Premier.
Mr. Premier.
We're not editing that out, by the way.
Mr. Premier, we just heard Alan Doyle talk about the traits of the people from this province, welcoming our neighbours to the south and indeed other Canadian provinces. And I know you to be a proud Newfoundlander yourself. It must feel great to welcome our neighbours here up to this wonderful province.
Oh, it feels fantastic. I had the opportunity to attend SUS in Savannah, Georgia last year, and just to be able to plant the seed with many of the people who are here today, and to see them actually and have discussions with them, and to see a twinkle in their eye about realizing the potential of this place, the potential for partnership, but also seeing them captured by the people and the spirit of this place, which we know, of course, is the secret sauce and is that magnetic force that draws tourists back more than once. It's the pull that brings all Newfoundlanders and Labradorians back home as well. So it's pretty special to be here today.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the team that put this together, your team at the government that pulled this together, Jillian and the crowd, I tell you, what a great job they've done.
We're very fortunate to have a bureaucracy and officials that work for the people of Newfoundland and Labrador that are just truly dedicated. And I believe I believe they bring that sense of pride to every time they come to work. I believe that they're proud of this place. They're in the public sector because they want to give back. There is a call for public service, and there is something that is very special about that, and it's an incentive into itself. It's intrinsic, and we're very fortunate in Newfoundland and Labrador to have an incredible public service. They show up to work because they want to help people in Newfoundland and Labrador, and what else can you ask other than that?
Mr. Premier, once again, been an absolute pleasure to have
Indeed.
you on, and keep that steady hand on the tiller. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Premier, exciting times in Newfoundland. Thanks again.
Indeed. You take care.
Thank you for tuning in to the 2023 SUS CP Conference, the Edge of Opportunity podcast from St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. The 2024 conference is taking place in Biloxi, Mississippi, and we look forward to seeing you there.